How's everybody doing tonight?
Fantastic.
Pretty good. We're almost there, guys. Maybe out of here by 8 o'clock. I used to have this friend who, like many Americans, had a pretty bad habit. He liked to smoke crack. He would smoke it in his apartment. And for whatever reason, when he would smoke, he would get high and he would think he was like a great martial arts fighter. Now the problem with that was that when he would be in that state of mind, he would punch and kick holes in the wall while yelling gibberish in Mandarin. The tenants would complain a lot about it. The tipping scale was this one time he and his buddies decided to have a crack party in his house, and they reenacted fight scenes from the movie Mortal Kombat. That got him put on rent probation. Now my friend made around $50K a year, so he had a decent job. So he decided that he was gonna buy a single family home so that he and his friends can get high and fight each other. So how does a crackhead who makes $50K a year buy a house? Luckily for you all, Hector is here to explain this. And yes, I did refer to myself as a third person because like The Rock, I lay the smackdown when it comes to buying a house. Anybody ever in here ever thought about buying a house except for you?
There wasn't.
Oh, was it? Oh, my bad.
She's on vacation. She's no longer in here.
Oh man, that sucks. All right. There are 7 steps to buying a house. Today I will explain these steps. And by the end of this speech, you should be familiarized in the process of buying a house. And if this time the tapes don't get lost, cameraman,
They won't.
shots. You can rewatch it in case you missed anything. All right. Step 1, which is the simplest step, to decide you want to buy a house. I decided I wanted to buy a house when I realized that paying rent and paying a mortgage is pretty much the same thing each month. Step 2, get a realtor. This is the home buying expert. He will be your representative. He is like a lawyer for you. He will show you the houses that you want to see, and most importantly, he will create and submit the contract that I will get into a few steps ahead. Step 3, this is when the issue gets real. You got to get pre-approved. So you go to a bank, you explain to them that you want to buy a house, and they, depending off of these questions that they ask you financially, they will back you and promise to give you the loan amount for you to buy your house. They'll ask you questions about how much you make, what type of bills you have, very informal, very word of mouth. Step 4, submit the contract. Once you find the house that you want and you get pre-approved by the bank, your realtor will then create a contract and submit it to the seller. A contract is like a promise that you are going to buy the house, showing that you're serious. And after you submit the contract, what happens is the house is no longer on the internet and nobody else can see it. And you go forward to step 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. Step 5 is the home inspection. The home inspection is like the equivalent like a mechanic. You will have a home inspector come out and he'll look through the whole house and find everything that's wrong with it, and he'll make sure that the house is worth what it's being sold for. And a lot of times if they find something that's catastrophic or something that's really bad safety-wise, you could either get out of the contract or the seller will fix it for free, so you don't have to do it. Step number 6 is submitting the paperwork. This is the most bothersome part in buying a house. This is where everything you said you have for the bank, you now have to prove. So now you have to go and submit W-2s, tax paperwork that you filed, bank statements, pay stubs from your jobs, and homeowner's insurance. Me personally, I don't like paperwork. For the house that I live in now, it took me like 4 months of going back and forth submitting paperwork. I was really upset with the guy that I was dealing with. So I decided that when I meet him, I was gonna give him a hard time. I was gonna like squeeze his hand or grill him, do something to intimidate him. But I looked him up and I found out that the guy used to play for the Packers in the practice squad. For those of you who do not know what that is, the guy was pretty much a professional football player, and he was pretty jacked. So I decided I'm gonna forgive him, because maybe he meant, you know, for everything to go smoothly. He had my best interest in heart. Step number 7 is closing. This is where everything comes together. This is where all the details are lined up. You go somewhere with your realtor and you sign like 45 pages worth of paperwork, and it explains everything you're gonna do when it comes to payment and every minor detail and how long it's gonna take for you to pay your house. And the most important part is they give you your keys. In conclusion, these steps that I have spoken about today should allow you to feel more knowledgeable and comfortable in the process of buying a house. But then again, if you don't, your realtor will walk you through everything. So even if you don't get everything today or you don't understand, he'll make sure, or she, that you are good to go. Now, in regards to my crackhead friend, I had to buy him a nice housewarming gift because I felt kind of guilty on how many times I complained about him to the tenants association.